Israel thanks President Trump for his courageous leadership, his commitment to confront the terrorist regime in Tehran, and his commitment to ensure that Iran never gets nuclear weapons. Not today, not in a decade, not ever.
Iranian lawmakers had one reaction today, outright fury, to the U.S.'s decision to walk away from the 2015 nuclear agreement. Inside Parliament, they chanted the usual refrain, "Death to America," and burned an image of an American flag. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was no more measured. He lashed out at President Trump, accusing him of lying in yesterday's announcement.
This man will die, and his body will turn into ashes and food for worms and ants. But the Islamic Republic will continue to stand.
I would advise Iran not to start their nuclear program. I would advise them very strongly. If they do, there will be very severe consequences.
Overnight, Syria says Israeli fighter jets attacked a military base just south of Damascus. We're told at this hour, according to one report, as many as 15 people could be dead, 8 of them Iranian.
The president's nominee for CIA director defended the agency's enhanced interrogation of terrorism suspects after 9/11, but said she would not bring it back.
The very important thing to know about CIA is we follow the law. We followed the law then, and we follow the law now.
This president asks you to do something that you find morally objectionable. Will you carry that out, that option, that order, or not?
Senator,
that would be.
My moral compass is strong. I would not allow CIA to undertake activity that I thought was immoral, even if it was technically legal.
Haspel was also questioned about a memo she helped author that ordered the destruction of 92 video recordings of the interrogations. She said it was her boss who gave the final order.
I understood that our officers' faces were on them and that was very dangerous at a time when there were unauthorized disclosures that were exposing the program.
Well, despite being grilled by some Democrats, she did pick up the support of West Virginia's Joe Manchin, who said that he will vote to confirm her. Also late today, Susan Collins, Republican of Maine, said that she is a yes vote, and it looks like she has the support of much of the CIA. One former employee told me that the rank and file believes that an insider is better running things rather than an outsider with less experience.
Trump tweeting moments ago that 3 detained Americans have been released from North Korea.
Yeah, terrific. Absolutely significant news, and good for those families, good for those 3 Americans. This is what we would call at the State Department a CBM, a confidence-building measure, obviously baked into the plan to agree to have Trump sit down with Kim Jong-un. So you saw that Kim didn't react to the exercises. Kim hasn't done any launches, and now Kim has released these 3 Americans, all part of an orchestrated framework to get to the summit. So.
Yeah, I was in North Korea just after one of their nuclear tests in early 2016, and Kim Dong-chol was presented to us. It was a complete surprise. At that point, nobody knew that a U.S. citizen was even in custody, and he had already been in jail for several months at that time. He gave me a really detailed confession about espionage, saying that he was smuggling information out of North Korea to activist groups in South Korea. I didn't know at that time, and frankly, I still don't know whether that confession was made under duress. It was interesting. They made him speak in Korean when he was talking to me, even though he did speak some English. We believe that might be because people in the next room were listening and writing down every word that he said. Obviously, all the rooms in North Korea are bugged. Clearly, he's been serving hard labor. The other 2 who were detained in the spring of last year hadn't actually been formally charged yet, so they might have been held in the equivalent of the jail as opposed to the hard labor correctional facility. But obviously, none of these 3 men were in very good conditions, even though President Trump's saying their health is good. Clearly, their families and they are certainly going to be happy that they're coming home right now.
Why? The scope of the investigation, in other words, the mandate to Robert Mueller in terms of what the parameters are of what is involved in what he's allowed to pursue. Why that would be a mystery, and why the Department of Justice is funded by U.S. taxpayer dollars would have any right to keep that information from the American people.
Most importantly, the American people deserve to know the framework, the scope of an investigation into the president they elected. And for the Department of Justice to say, oh, no, we can't show it to you. And we'll see what they do. The judge gave him 2 weeks. We'll see if they actually comply and give it to him, or if they try to fight that as well. I don't know what'll happen. But my guess is, based on the conversation as relayed that judge had with the lawyers from Mueller's team, That judge is going to want to see that. And he said, you got 2 weeks to get it to me. Mark Meadows and I sent a letter. We want to see it as well. Congress deserves to see that. Most importantly, the American people do.
Last week, we did a fantastic job in California, raising funds. Kevin McCarthy and I, I built up this network that I started, came from the Romney days. Kevin and I are going to make sure that network is in service to this majority going forward. So Kevin and I have a really good aggressive schedule this summer to make sure that our majority has the resources it needs to get our message out. Plan for our economic agenda that we are in the middle of executing. You turn on the TV, you may not see that, but you look at what we're doing. It was always reg relief first. Then we did want to do our entitlement reform bill, which we think is really important. Unfortunately, that didn't pass the Senate, but we didn't let that stop us in our tracks. We moved on to tax reform. Then we knew we wanted to go rebuild our military budget and get our military and our VA back on track, so we did that. Then we knew we wanted to go into our infrastructure bills. We just did the FAA bill. Then we're going to go through WRDA. Then we're going to go through permitting and streamlining. Then we want to go work on people. We've got to close the skills gap and the opportunities gap. That's career and technical education reform. That's getting the 12 million able-bodied people who are on the sidelines, in poverty, off of welfare, into the workforce because there's 6.6 million jobs out there. We have been laboring for months to try and get 218 on an immigration bill. That's been challenging. We're working on what I would call Plan B, which is to work with the administration to get them to support a plan that I think most people can support on DACA and security. So we're not going to give up the DACA thing. What really bothered me about that is we lost our deadline. The way Congress works, I've learned this as Speaker, is you got to have pretty good deadlines to force people to come together, to force them to make compromises, to then get something. As soon as the court took away that deadline, those Democrats we were talking to walked away and basically made the conclusion they prefer to have the issue than the solution.